I want to pursue this issue of the International Criminal Court action now, and I'm joined by Professor of Law at Wollongong University, Greg Rose. Thanks for joining us, Greg. I appreciate it. The ICC, arrest warrants issued for Benjamin Netanyahu as Prime Minister and, of course, his former Defence Minister. Explain to the rest of us what remit the ICC has to make these charges, call for these arrests, and how Australia is, as a signatory to that court, is expected to act.
Thank you, Chris. Well, there are about 124 countries that have signed on to the court out of 194 UN members. So looking at about 2/3. The 1/3 that hasn't signed on isn't bound by the Rome Statute for the court. Israel isn't bound, US isn't bound, China, Russia, Turkey, most Asia-Pacific countries are not parties or members of the court. So this is the first time that an International Criminal Court non-member state, Israel, has been brought to the court, the first liberal democracy brought to the court, which is not a member, by a member of the court, Palestine, which goes under the name the State of Palestine, but which the court itself recognised couldn't be, at this stage, considered to be a state. So a non-state member of the court has brought a non-member of the court, which is a state, to a prosecution for war crimes alleged. And the failures here are huge in the sense that not only has the court got the international law wrong on matters relating to statehood, but also its own jurisdiction, where under the Rome Statute, it's meant to defer to the domestic processes of the country where which is alleged to have committed the crimes.
Yeah, I'll come to that next, Greg. I appreciate it, but just to affirm that point, the court's got its own processes wrong because it's effectively giving the non-state of Palestine the status of a state, and it's laying charges that relate to a country that's not a signatory to the statute.
It's a bit like my saying, I'm moving into the lodge because I want to be Prime Minister. I'm not Prime Minister yet, but I'm moving in. So
just extraordinary.
That's an analogy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so it's wrong at law, and this is what's so concerning about it. I've got to say, I was working for the Foreign Minister Alexander Downer at the time Australia signed up to this, and ironically enough, Josh Frydenberg, who went on to be Treasurer, of course, was the policy advisor advising Alexander Downer at the time. And the real concern at that time is that the International Criminal Court could be used in a political way, as so many UN bodies have been, against Israel or other states. Now, all of that was supposedly allayed by the sorts of rules that you've talked about, but they've just ignored them and gone after Israel anyway.
Well, the rule of law doesn't really apply within the United Nations. Most international lawyers accept that the UN muddles along because it doesn't work. Its machinery is not precision rule of law machinery. So everything is fudged. You have an assembly of state parties which control the court, the appointments of judges, the appointment of the prosecutor. And that's a political body. 57 states are members of the Organization for Islamic Cooperation, and they, in the negotiation of the statute for the court, actually shaped it to criminalize Israel retrospectively under a change to the laws of occupation. So even before the court was born, it was a political instrument.